Hello there. It's the TTP Field Manual podcast. I am Joshy. With me, as always, is my beloved friend Jonny. Hello, Jonny.
Oh, hi there. How we doing?
I'm decent now after I've got my stop sneezing medicine in my body.
Oh, that's always a nice start to the morning.
Late morning. Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
Can't complain. Are you ready for today's episode?
As ready as I can be considering what you gave me.
Okay, so we are doing a Grotmas list building challenge of sorts today, and I didn't give you your list. You rolled for them.
Yeah, well.
Before we get into lists, do we want to have a quick by the campfire what we thought about Grotmas? Would you like to share your opinion with me?
Sure, why not? Overall, I think that Grotmas was a very successful and fun little adventure we went on last year. The idea of adding extra detachments is always a good thing, and having new ways to use and play your models. The fact that they told us that even the ones that are in Index will not have the Grotmas detachment included in their codex is very positive in my belief. Although, as a Chaos Knights player, it seems a little weird that the one that adds cultists will not be in it, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens there.
I love the idea of Grotmas, really. Grotmas, if could not tell by the name, was a Christmas-themed thing. It was a Advent calendar every single day. One or more of the various factions in Warhammer 40,000 got a new kit of rules to play with. I think they did pretty well overall with making things nice and both flavorful but also playable. Naturally, there are some outliers, both good and bad. Some are bonkers strong, some are bonkers weak. I was quite impressed, actually, with how many of these detachments were what I like to call soup detachments, where the rules support you bringing in units from various factions or various armies together and having your kit actually support both of them. I thought that was super neat.
And they were very flavorful, the ones that did it too, which I really liked. You had Chaos Knights having cultists, you had Imperial Knights getting AdMech units, you had Genestealer Cults getting Tyranids, which was really cool thematically as well. And
didn't stop
the
there.
ones that, that's what I mean, like just examples, but they were overall pretty cool. They gave all 4 of the Chaos Demons a separate detachment, which is an interesting decision based on the fact that we don't know when or if we will get a codex for them anytime soon and what it'll look like.
And Deathwatch is back.
There was also a few, Deathwatch is back. There was also a few that crossed over into what other armies kinda did, like Orcs getting Tactical Brigade, which is very similar to the way that Imperial Guard play, which was also pretty cool because it shows like a more cunning Orc play style. But overall, I think the 30 detachments that they released for Grotmas were all pretty good and flavorful. There were obviously some that stunk. Looking at you, Hex Warp Thrallband.
Say that 10 times fast.
Oh, man. And there was definitely some that were very strong. Star Shatter Arsenal.
But I hardly know her.
But overall, they were fun. And it was nice being able to like jump in every day and see what was new and what was coming out for all these different armies, even the ones that, we don't play.
It felt so good to just have a little gift, and see another angle to factions. I've learned more about the other armies because of seeing like, oh, here's a Death Guard detachment to start us off. Well, I don't know much about Death Guard. Let me go look at their rules a little bit. Oh, okay, I see how that works together with that unit. And it's nice, especially in 10th edition's rule set where you have less tools to play with in terms of your sort of like detachments, your sub-factions. But that you can do a lot with them quite easily. You can just come up with one off the top of your head. I've done it for just in my notebook just an idea, you need like 6 abilities, couple of pieces of equipment, sort of a sub rule that benefits your whole faction. You can do so much. I'm sure they'll actually do it again. Like,
I'm sure they
the end
will.
of this year. It's fun. Very fun.
So, what we decided to do, after all the dust had settled and people had had a chance to play with and enjoy these, is we thought we would roll a couple of dice, pick a couple of detachments, build up like a quick list and get to know the rules for like a couple of the detachments, and then we'd come and talk about them and see what we think of each other's lists.
Yes. So, who did you get?
So, I ended up with Imperial Agents, which people say is one of the less powerful of the Grotmas detachments, but it was an interesting thing to like try and see where the fault was, and it is very obvious where it needs help.
It's the army. It's the army itself.
Yes, and the other list that I got was the Tau Cadre, which
Very
was actually a lot of fun to build around and was an interesting list building challenge due to a lot of moving parts needing to come together to make the detachment and army rule work harmoniously. And then for you, which ones did
I get?
Yeah, what do we talk about today for you?
Well, I distinctively remembered we rolled 3. But I did do my 3.
Oh no.
I did do my 3, and I also did, when it came out in December, the Imperial Agents Assassins one, because it seemed fun. I'm sure we'll talk about that. My 3, 2 of my 3, funnily enough, were from my top 5 Grotmas detachments that I would personally like to run and try out. So that was hilarious. Good luck for me. Genestealer Cults, the Final Day detachment, which you can soup in Tyranid units, but specifically the more stealthier, live, assassin-esque Tyranids.
Which I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I got the Chaos Demons Slaanesh Legion, which, wow, chef's kiss, best detachment in the whole range.
Well, overperforming competitively at the moment, so no surprise there.
I mean, how many people realistically have a Slaanesh Demons army ready to go? I'm sure it's like 2 people, and they're just really good at it.
Well, the win rate kind of says otherwise at the moment, because
Okay.
Chaos Demons are currently topping the Meta Watch.
Hilarious.
Yeah, but the win rate specifically for that detachment is sitting at about 68% at the moment.
I'm not surprised. It hits like a truck.
It's very well put together, and I'm interested to talk about it.
I love it.
Your third one?
Humorously and a little anxiously, I got Chaos Knights. Iconoclast Fiefdom, where you can bring in the damned units. Once again, a soupy army, as I call it. This is going to be really fun because this is the detachment you're actually running, like, as your go-to tabletop army.
Sure is. So it'll be interesting to see what you put together and how it differs from what I put together.
But naturally as well, I played the Necron Star Shatter Arsenal when it came out. I'm working towards the Space Marine Librarius Conclave. So I have more than 3. But for today's challenge, I have the 2 Chaos and the Genestealer Cult.
Cool. So for the purpose of this, we will start with you. We will rotate back and forth, and we'll see if we can get through all 5, depending on time, but go until we're done, you know?
I know which one you want me to start with.
Well, it's whichever one you feel like starting with.
Already looking at it. Let's do the Iconoclast Fiefdom.
Alright, let's do it, eh? Let's see what you've got, and see how it differs from what I've put together as a potential crusade list.
So I would assume to talk about the army and then how the detachment actually works within the army. But I think for this particular detachment, you should probably be the one to educate us on how Chaos Knights is supposedly work, like what their kit generally is, and then how this detachment tweaks that kit.
Alright, why not? Chaos Knights is my go-to army, and I've had a lot of fun with it, building, painting, playing. It is a very swingy, vehicle-focused army. You have giant war machines of death stomping across the battlefield with an army of smaller, giant war machines of death. There's this weird interplay between your Titanic Knights and your War Dogs, where you can give buffs if they're nearby, etc., etc. But the idea of the army is you have some amount of larger knights, and then your battle line units are just essentially tanks running around the battlefield. The index detachment, which is all we have at the moment, focuses very heavily around war dogs, and the war dogs are very strong point-wise compared to the bigger knights who just cost too much for what they can do. And 10th edition really emphasizes having as many units as possible to do everything that you can. The idea behind this Grotmas detachment is that you get to bring up to a quarter of your army as Chaos Cultists, essentially, from the Chaos Space Marines Codex. All the units that have the Damned, so you've got Cultist mobs, you've got Beastmen, and weird mutated guys running around. But their whole job is to perform rituals to buff your big knights. But the big knights also give benefits to them if they're nearby, allowing them to succeed more in combat, whereas normally they wouldn't. So there's this interplay between having your small guys running around the feet of your giant death machines. This detachment focuses a little more on your larger knights, which in my opinion are the cooler of the option. But also has this weird interplay with the Chaos Space Marines army rule of Dark Pacts, where you roll leadership tests to get a buff for your unit. The difference is the cultists will roll the leadership tests to give the buffs to your bigger knights, which makes for some interesting plays of giving keywords that normally your big knights would be lacking due to their higher firepower, to make them even better at the cost of losing some models on the board. For the most part, that's kind of the detachment. It's very flavorful. There's these giant machines worshipping the Path of Damnation, and you've got all these cultists literally sacrificing themselves to these machine gods that they worship. It's really cool. So, what's your list look like?
Thank you for the little summary. Said better than I would. When I look at these new armies, this new set of abilities and equipment, I just sort of go through the list. I'm like, okay, can I get something that benefits that? And then I go to the next ability. What benefits that? Add that to the list,
Yep.
And so looking at the list, you got some, obviously, the Damned units, you got the Chaos Knights units, but you want to absorb them and make the big knights stronger, right? And you have a couple of enhancements like the Profane Altar, which gives you both of the benefits of Dark Pact instead of one that you choose.
Yep.
And so I've kind of maxed out a little bit on the actual cultist unit points.
It's the best way to do it.
And tried to come up with a couple of things that would also be interesting to me, which includes a couple of fringe picks. I don't think my big knight that I've gone with, well, actually, I went with two big knights. I don't think that and one of the war dog choices is going to make you think, yeah, Josh knows what he's doing.
So, well, you say that, but I do think that for the most part, any of the war dogs are okay to run. They all have a position. There's just, in competitive scene, there's obviously the best of the best, So no, I'm all for picking the thing you think is cool over the thing that you think is just better.
Yeah. So my warlord then is a knight despoiler with lots of guns.
With twin Gatling cannons.
Ruin Spear rocket pod, battle cannon, heavy stubber, Gatling cannon, all the stuff. The idea for him, you give him the Profane Altar, stick him in the back, a shit ton of shooting attacks with lethal hits, sustained hits. While he's in the back being a menace, I have a aggressive Vanguard Knight in the Cerastus Knight Atropo.
Atropos. All right. We're already getting spice.
Because the dude has sustained hits already in his weaponry. So put that with the lethal hits army rule. The thing has macro extinction protocols, so he can add one to the hit roll and wound roll if it's a monster or vehicle. So he just goes forward and paves the way.
He's your anti-tank / Titanic unit killer. Yep.
Yeah, his melee profile's great. His range profile is great. He gives a bit of a war dog aura, again with the rerolling of hits. I think very spicy choice. For war dogs, I do have a few. I have a couple of brigands. They are your ranged war dogs, and they will be supporting a couple of the damn choices I'll announce in a sec. I have a executioner, which I stuffed in because that's the points I had. And for a bit of a melee threat, I wasn't particularly thrilled with the carnivore because you only choose one of its melee profiles.
You're not wrong.
So I picked the war dog Moirax with double siege claws.
I see. Going for the choice in resin. I see.
Yeah, but because it has protection protocols with heroic intervention for free.
Yep.
And so the idea is he babysits the Atropo and runs interference while the Atropo goes for the high priority targets. Besides them, I have a Dark Commune leading Accursed Cultists.
The AC/DC, yep.
Yes, an AC/DC. As a bit of a whatever I need it to be unit. I have 2 squads of 10 Traitor Guardsmen, which the idea is to park them on objectives, which gives them buffs for being on the objectives, supported by those brigands, and they're kind of like battlefield turret emplacements in a sense, as units, just shooting things. As well, I have a couple of cultist mobs, led each by a cultist firebrand, so that they are more reliable on their leadership tests, and I would like to run one of those mobs each nearby the big knights.
Yeah. They tow underneath. Yep.
And my plan is to essentially have a very aggressive vanguard, a very powerful backfield, and then a couple of skirmisher blobs running around in the middle. And that's my list.
Seems perfectly fine. The Atropos is an interesting choice.
Looks cool.
Yeah, cool model. A very, very specific job, but it does it fairly well.
It's probably my favorite stat sheet that I've seen for the Cerastus Knights. I prefer the look of the one with the lance and the shield, but I think the Atropo has a bit more multi-purpose energy.
The Lancer does one job, which is run at the enemy.
But yeah, that's my list. I think everything in the list, there's something in the list for every ability. You got Pave the Way to scout up some of those damned units. You got the Profane Altar to be a big gun battery. You got a few things lying around, the Wretched Masses. You could put the AC/DC unit back. A couple of the things like the Soul Hunger. You can get some wounds back on the Moirax or the Atropo. Yeah, I like it. It feels fun. I would go with it.
Yeah. So looking at the list that you've built up compared to the list that I've built up, so I built around 3 of the big knights instead of 2. The Despoiler is a very similar loadout. It's as much guns as you can put on it to deal with as many problems as it can deal with. Instead of the Atropo, I run the Tyrant because it's a cool model and I have one that's getting some very big upgrades.
Yes, it is.
Looks sick. And that's my anti-tank. That Warp Shock Harpoon is hilarious when it goes off. The Pave the Way is the enhancement that I have on that gentleman, which allows a couple of cultist models to get scout moves, which just helps them keep up with the big knights a little better with their little bits of movement that they have. The difference is I went with 2 carnivores as my 2 war dogs that I chose. Mainly because I needed something that could run interference and get into that like middle ground and hold its own in melee. And then my cultist choices, or my damned unit choices, are where I went with a little bit of my more utility sort of vibe. So I picked up some Felgor Beastmen, because they have a turn 1 strategic reserve, and can come into your opponent's deployment on turn 2, which is very interesting for being able to get into the back line, get in the way and cause some problems. Also, they allow you to do certain missions that can pop up in your secondaries. I have 3 units of cultists, 1 with 20 and 2 with 10. Interesting decision. Yeah, the interesting decision was I went with their Legends version, which is cultist mob with firearms, which works in a very similar manner to what the Traitor Guard do. The only difference is they cost 50 points instead of 70. So I could add in a little bit more. So there's 40 cultists running around, and then I had a little bit of points left over, so I picked up some Accursed cultists. They are mostly there to run interference / get in the way. They're my bodyguard unit, like your Moirax is. Their job is to run in front of the knights, get locked up in melee, stop the opponent from getting to my big knights. But overall, like, very similar sort of game plan style. I just wanted to focus so heavily on having 3 big knights in the Despoiler, the Tyrant, and a Rampager. The Rampager is my big distraction Carnifex. His job is to run across the board and make your opponents scared.
Sure would make me scared.
But yeah, no, I really like the idea of your list. The inclusion of the Atropos is an interesting one because you don't see a lot of them played. Most people are picking up the Lancers as opposed to that. But I do like the choice as a potential anti-tank option at a much cheaper price, like 100 points cheaper than a Tyrant.
Yeah, I don't think the Atropos is available yet in plastic.
I'm not sure. I think it is. No, it isn't. The Acheron, Castigator, and Lancer are. The Atropos did not get a plastic kit.
It's the coolest of them.
It's sick. It's sick, dude.
It looks like a big robotic skeleton.
And I like the list.
Thank you, mate. I'm an honorable Chaos Knight player now.
We just got to get you to a point where you actually feel like playing with knights.
Tabletop sim.
Which might be soon if you decide to pick up Sir Rex.
Nah.
Sir Hector.
I like the idea of having the models for the episodes that we've actually, like, done on them. I think that's a pretty cute idea. Have them on the shelf. Like, I remember when we did a Canis Rex episode. I remember we did a Ephrael Stern episode. Look at that. She's right there.
I do have a Sir Hector.
Sure do.
I just cut his hand off and gave him a demon sword because now he's a cultist.
Yeah. All right, Johnny, what's your next list?
So, I am going to start with the list that you had previously made. The Agents of the Imperium.
Ooh.
Focusing on Assassin's Matter. The Veiled Blade Elimination Force.
It's good, eh?
This was a difficult list for me to put together because I know so little about Imperium list building and even less about Agents list building. So I had to do a little bit of work trying to work out what I cared to put in, what might be okay, and honestly this list might be terrible.
The army's terrible, Johnny. Come on.
Why don't they have an army rule? I don't understand that part.
They saw an opportunity with all the kill teams they had put out and were like, yo, what if Imperial Agents though? And then they got the intern to write it or something, I don't know.
But why doesn't it have an army rule? Their detachment rules aren't fantastic enough to cover the basis of not having an army rule. You're essentially missing half of your rules. It's weird.
It's so weird.
And it was one of the first things where I was reading through, I'm like, hold on, this is missing something.
They're meant to be taken as supplements to existing Imperium armies, but because they now have an army, the actual cost now to put them into your force is more expensive because you could actually just play an army of them. but there's no army rule, so you would better off just supplement an assassin or an inquisitor or some cheaper, human navy people in your normal armies that you are actually wanting to play. It's weird, eh?
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It just feels wrong.
It's wrong. It's an abomination.
All right, so
What do you got?
this detachment focuses specifically around the Officio Assassinorum units, aka the 4 assassins.
Woo!
4 epic heroes that you have access to in your army. Does it make them better? Technically. Are they good enough to have as your entire detachment rule? Probably not.
No.
So the detachment rule basically just says that 3 of the 4 assassins can use their once per game ability twice, but not in the same turn. But on top of this, they are forced to take a specific enhancement, which increases their points and gives them very little in return, frankly.
Horrendous tax on accessing abilities.
Yep. So, of course, the first thing I did was put all 4 assassins in. Do I think you probably want to run all 4? No, you probably only want to run 3 of them.
Sorry, Calexis.
Sorry, Calexis, but the psychic phase doesn't matter.
I knew it. Yeah, what else you got?
For 140 points, I don't think Calexis does enough.
But his grenade will hit 1 roll better now.
Again, I don't think it does enough for the point cost. So all of your assassins now cost 140 to 155 points each, and because you have to give them an enhancement. So you end up spending over 500 points just on your 4 assassins, and that's another reason why you probably don't run the Calexis, but I did because thematically it matters, right? Then another epic hero, because why stick to 4? I've included Inquisitor Draxus.
She's good.
Right? Anti-infantry, a psychic attack. I kind of built this weird, quite a few psychers in the list, just accidentally without really meaning to.
That's fine.
And then, of course, I was like, okay, Inquisitors need friends. So, I then also picked up 2 more Inquisitors. Why not?
I thought you were going to say infantry.
No, 2 more Inquisitors. Needs friends, right? All with the psychic gifts, which gives them the psychic keyword. And to round out my agents' characters, I have a Watchmaster as well.
He's good, though.
He is! Especially when you give him 10 Death Watch to go with him.
Have fun putting that together.
So I have the Watchmaster with 10 Death Watch in a kill team with a bunch of shields and thunderhammers as a big melee blob that's just that at like 300 points you're hoping will do something. I've got 2 units of Imperial Breaches to go with all of the Inquisitors, because why not? And they are pretty standard units of shotguns and a couple of shields and running around doing what they need to do. And I've also thrown into the list a couple of rhinos to get them where they need to be safely. I've then added in a Subductor squad as a melee threat with their shot pistols and shock mauls, which, again, I don't know if this list is good, but it seems fine. They seem very melee focused. They do have a 4-up invuln save, which makes them fairly tanky. And I also put in some Voidsmen at arms, just as a 50-point, sit in the back line, hold objectives. Just a bit of an objective monkey, you know? And they're cheap enough that I had the points left over at the end. What you will notice by this is it leaves me with just under 500 points left for my list.
I know where you're going with this.
So I brought 1 more character.
An epic character?
Another epic hero in the form of Canis Rex and Sir Hector.
Let's go!
I needed some anti-tank. I needed something big. And what is bigger than Sir Hector?
Let's go!
This guy just slaps. There's no reason not to be like, yeah, cool, he's a good ally. He hits on 2s. He has keywords coming out his rear end.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't die easily. And while, yes, it's a quarter of your army, in a list where you've got a bunch of little dudes running around, why not have a giant death machine in the background
I'm
backing
noticing
you
a trend today.
And that's kind of my whole list. At 1985 points, we have 6 epic heroes, 3 extra characters, and then just a bunch of humans running around.
Sure do.
And it's like, it's not even a lot of humans. It's like 50 dudes running around with a couple of rhinos just to keep them safe until they get there. So you just have Canis running around in your background, some dudes running around in the midfield, and then just a bunch of psychers and assassins just causing issues for your opponent. It just feels like a very tactical, mixed play sort of play style, and I kind of dig what I came up with in the short time that I was putting together a list. I think the Deathwatch kill team is pretty cool, and having a bunch of dudes with shields and thunderhammers sounds like a lot of fun. And the breaches are one of my favorite Imperial kits that the Imperium got. I think those dudes look sick.
They do.
And I remember being pretty excited for them when they were revealed for kill team. The problem was, 1, I'm not too fussed on Imperium, and 2, it came in the same kill team kit as the Kroot, which I couldn't care less about.
Ironic what's happening today, isn't
All
it?
those spoilers.
Ironic what happens in this hobby.
Yeah, right? This is my dice luck.
Your list isn't too different from what I ended up going with, really.
Oh yeah, cool. So what did you look at when you were looking at Assassinorum?
I know in my brain that Imperial Agents is not an army you play to really win your games. You play it to have fun with things you already have a chunk of for some reason. Assassins makes playing an army of Imperial Agents easier because these models are like $50 each on discount and can, as you pointed out, take like 600-ish points off of your need to build, army. You get what I mean? But all the stratagems focus around them, right? Every assassin has its own
stratagem.
Yep. The 5th stratagem literally just says Assassinorum model. The other one is Lone Operative model, which assassins are. So you really should bring all 4. And you play them like you would attempt custodians. You play them super elite, super specifically. Like you're supposed to know exactly what to do at any point with every one of these key pieces. Having their second ability usage is actually very important. But I still think they're overcosted. I also ran Canis Rex because this army sucks at damage output. The only somewhat competitive thing for this army is to play Imperialis Fleet, and you win by objectives, not by killing. But I did try and add some stuff. I again did the Deathwatch kill team with Watchmaster because Marines are spicy. You could even look at Grey Knights.
I definitely did look at Grey Knights.
I did a couple of generic Inquisitors with some agents for some cheap points for doing objectives, letting Canis and the other epics actually do stuff. But then I put in a couple of Sisters of Battle squads because they have sticky objectives, running them in Sisters of Battle Immolators because you need some sort of firepower, whether that's Flamers for Overwatch or Multi-Melters to help Canis Rex do his thing.
And also a way to keep those squishy-ass sisters alive.
Yeah, that's the list.
Cool.
It's so similar, except with sisters and less
instead of breaches. Yep.
Yeah, that's agents.
That's agents, right? When half of your list is epic heroes, what do you add in just to support them, right? That feels like the whole gist.
I love characters.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's sick. Would it be good in Crusade? No.
Because they're epics.
Because epic heroes can't get any better. Although, new rules might bring some spice.
We'll have to wait and see.
See what happens, right? But yeah, that's my Imperium list.
You did it.
I made an Imperium list.
It would have been so funny if you got Questa Forge Pact instead. Yeah. My turn, eh?
Yeah. What do you got for me this time?
You pick Demons or Genestealers.
I'm curious what you did with Genestealers, so let's go through that.
This took me a while to put together. Genestealers
Yeah.
are another tricky army, high skill ceiling, lots of tricks. Genestealers have a very interesting army rule. They revolve around this idea that your units are mostly starting the board like under the board. They're in the tunnels, they're in the sewers, they're in the buildings, just waiting to spring their deadly trap, you know?
Yep.
And so you have a lot more units you can actually keep off the board to start with. You put a bunch of tokens around the board, and then as the turns go by, every now and then when units of your opponent are not near these tokens, it's almost like, the signal that their enemy was receiving was accurate. There is a unit there. And then you can choose to put on like your truck or your cultists or your abominations. But if your opponent actually goes towards the tokens, you can't use it. So it kind of is a cat and mouse game. You need to be super aware of what each of your units is meant to actually do to win. You can't just throw dice at the wall like Marines and hope for the best. However, when the Codex for Genestealer Cults 10th edition came out, they didn't really fix the core issue with the army, which is the army likes to come back. You kill a unit, you roll a die, and then on a successful result, your unit, it's not like reviving. There's just another unit coming in. Like the Genestealer Cults is meant to represent this horde of possessed and mind-controlled humans rising up. But it wasn't a very reliable army rule. You could just be really unlucky and get none of your units back. But now, with the Christmas time balance patch, the Genestealer Cults have a resource pool. Each of your core infantry cost an amount of points. Now you no longer roll to see if they come back. You decide if you want to spend the 2 or 3 or 4 points, whatever, from your pool of points, which is like 8 or 12 or 16, I think, depending on your size of battle.
So it's somewhere in the range of 2 to 8 points to come back. In a 2K game, you have 10 points.
Yeah, that's not particularly great unless you're running a detachment where up to half of your units don't borrow from that resource.
Yeah.
The final day is the heralds of the Genestealer Cults joining their, star brethren that have come down and started to gobble the planet. They join them in the fight. And that's what this army is. The detachment rule is very straightforward. If a Tyranid unit is nearby your opponent's unit, Genestealer Cults hit that enemy unit better. Big characters of the Tyranids, like your Hive Tyrant, can do the whole Iconoclast thing where you eat your cultists and get some wounds. Well, it's not the same thing, but they get wounds instead of keywords on their weaponry.
Yep.
So I tried to have a relatively evened out army. I wanted stuff that was hard hitting. I wanted stuff that was able to go around and do objectives. The Genestealer Cult units themselves don't have particularly tough bodies, but they all bring with them like mining tools, like mining lasers, demolition charges, and those things pack a bloody punch.
That's what you want to see for squishy dudes in the tunnels, right?
Yeah. So much like how I approached the Iconoclast Fiefdom, I looked at all the abilities and like stratagems and saw like, okay, like a good half of them are benefiting Tyranids, a good half of them benefit Genestealer Cults. There is some overlaps. You have things such as like bonuses to charging in if your Tyranids are already in a fight. You've got like pick up and put into strategic reserves if they're not in the battle. You got stuff like that. What I put together was a few characters. We have the Cult Primus, or just Primus. He has an enhancement in human integration that gives sustain hits 1 to your unit when you're within 6 inches. When you're targeting, an enemy unit within 6 inches or more. You're feeding into that detachment rule. Putting the Primus with the Neophyte hybrids that all have their various heavy weapons, their seismic cannons, their Webbers, grenade launchers. So hopefully the sustain hits pop off. And then you have the Acolyte Icon Ward, who gives Feel No Pain to Acolyte hybrids, running with, I think, a squad of the Hand Flamers ones, which have a bunch of demolition charges. I have an Abominant, who is the big, tough, brutish, Ogren-looking Genestealer Cult guy leading a bunch of aberrants, and they hit like an absolute truck in melee. They are like the Terminators of Genestealer Cults.
Yeah, they're your big melee blob, right?
And then, yeah, besides them, I have a couple of Acolyte hybrids with auto pistols, and the Acolyte hybrids are kind of your classic sticky the objective or generate CP on an objective, stuff like that. I also have hybrid metamorphs as well in the infantry list. Maybe I was going to put the Icon Ward with them. I don't know, but the Neophyte hybrids allow you to be a bit more melee focused or ranged focus. And yeah, they again play into that battlefield control. They definitely a bit of an ambushy unit, hop in, swipe, 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 kill, kill, kill. And I have a bunch of vehicles as well. I got a couple of Achilles Ridge Runners. They're your lighter vehicle. One's got a mortar and is supposed to sort of shake up the enemy's backfield and remove some cover bonuses. Another one's got a heavy mining laser, so that's meant to go around and like take down some vehicles. I got a Goliath Rock Grinder, which is a big heavy vehicle with a little ram on the front. Yeah, the idea for that is to actually like drive in and drop off the hand flamer acolytes. I'm pretty sure I planned with all their demolition charges and hand flamers, but leave them in the truck so that when the truck like drives in and like tank shocks, there's also a bunch of people like throwing mining charges and poking out of the firing deck with like hand flamers, you know?
Can we talk about how nice that melee profile is for a vehicle?
It's great. And then its ability makes Desperate Escapes worse.
Yeah. And forces the Desperate Escapes. It just kills people.
And another vehicle, a Goliath truck. Pretty sure I had intended them to actually deliver the hybrid metamorphs into the actual fight so they can melee some infantry apart. But that's just the Genestealer Cults, Johnny.
That's half your list.
What's the other half? So I have a Winged Hive Tyrant with Synaptic Augur enhancement. Synaptic Augur, it's an interesting one. When you choose to eat a cultist, you get wounds back.
Nice.
Synaptic Augur, like that, eating and getting the wounds back, that's your detachment rule, or one of them. The Synaptic Augur doubles whatever the result of the dice roll was, but only for the Tyrannid. So you don't lose more of your cultists, you just gain more wounds. Imagine, Johnny, a Winged Hive Tyrant 200 plus point model with the melee, the invulnerable save, just the big hulking profile. You spend a few units shooting and meleeing. Next turn, 8 wounds back.
Oh, it's only got 10 wounds. You could have almost killed it and it's full health again.
Yep. I also have a Death Leaper who's running around the battlefield fight firsting, precision attacking characters and generating CP when it kills those characters.
Oh, you mean the guy with Infiltrator Lone Operative Stealth fights first?
Yeah. If you have one of your big characters of the Tyranids die, one of the stratagems is basically avenge the masters. So if you actually do manage to kill the Hive Tyrant or the Death Leaper or somebody like that, the Genestealer Cults are like, excuse me, you're going to pay for that?
I'm going to need you to die now.
Yes. Besides those people, I thought about gargoyles for like a battle line interference unit, but they were a little expensive to me compared to the acolytes and neophytes. But I did bring a lictor. I did bring some Von Ryan's leapers that can, tow in and be a menace.
All those infiltrators that will appear in the middle of the board.
Yes, and these things are meant to get in and give that bonus to your hits because they're now in that engagement range. So they're not meant to actually be relied on to do the killing. They're meant to activate the Genestealer Cults to do the killing. I also brought 3 Raveners, which are actually pretty terrifying when I look at them. But they also have the ability to hop off the board and come back on, so I can use them aggressively or objectively.
Uppy downies.
Yeah! And then, rounding out the list, 2 Trigons.
To what now?
Trigons.
Try again? No, jokes.
They are a deep strike within 6.
Are they deep strike, though? They don't come from above.
They come from below. They're not deep striking, they're deep strike. T10 model, 3-up save, 14 wounds, like 12 attacks on 3, strength 9, AP 2, damage 3.
Ooh.
Like 6-inch deep strike. Like, so you got a bunch of acolytes doing objectives and poking holes. You got some invader Tyranids just like being a menace, getting rid of characters. You have vehicles dropping off these aggressive payloads. You got a Terminator brick of mutants running up the board, power hammering things to death that try to get in their way. And then when your opponent decides, you know what, we're finally establishing a footing, we have a little castle, we're able to put the herd out on these bloody hybrids that keep coming back. What's that? 2 Trigons deep struck within 6 inches of our command center? Mate. A lot of fun putting this list together.
This is spicy, yeah.
I don't know if it's like super meta because neither of these two halves are considered that strong, but who plays in tournaments anyway?
It seems so fun.
It seems so fun. It took a lot for me to understand what a hybrid metamorph versus a neophyte hybrid versus an acolyte hybrid. There's 2 separate acolyte hybrids, auto pistols and hand flamers. Each of those units have a different ability, but yeah. There's some spice in my list, I feel.
No, it sounds like a lot of fun, and there's definitely a similar thing with Tyranids, where it's like, what does this name actually mean? A lot of similar sounding names, and you're like, is that this one, or is it that one, or is it this thing?
I have a funny episode idea for you, which is you go in like blind, and I present to you a bunch of images and be like, which one's the Trigon?
Yeah, no, that's not going to go well.
Which one's the Harridan? Which one's the Biovore? You know?
I imagine it won't go well.
Nah, but that's Genestealer Cults. It does a lot of ambushing, a lot of board control, a lot of aggressive output, not so much defensive output, but if you're needing to defend as Genestealer Cults, you're playing wrong.
Yeah, you've got to be the hyper-aggressive get in and get out army.
But that's it. That's it for my list 2. Well, 3 technically. What have you got?
I have Tau. Now, are you ready to shoot some stuff?
No, I just like ambushing now. But yeah, go on.
Cool. So, welcome to the shooting army. This was actually a lot of fun to build around. Their army rule and detachment rule require different units doing different things. So there's this like 3-way interplay that you have to kind of balance out and try and get to work. The Tau's army rule focuses around paired units, essentially. So you've got spotters and you've got like shooters. So you've got people who are out there looking for the enemy, which makes it easier for your big guns to shoot them. Allows them to ignore cover, get better ballistic skill, all of this sort of stuff. But you need a paired lot of units to really make it work. That's kind of their whole thing. Then your detachment rule also requires auxiliary units, so your Kroot and your Vespid Stingwings, to also be doing something to make it easier to do the thing that you want to do, which is shoot your enemy dead.
Just a lot of laser pointers.
But you're laser pointing from multiple directions with different units to make one thing shoot real good. So to get into the nitty-gritty, when you go to your shooting phase, you will select a unit to be an observer. This will allow a different unit that you choose to be the guided unit that will then get +1 to hit, ignores cover. Otherwise, if they don't have a spotter, they're just worse at shooting. But that requires you to use specifically your Tau infantry, like your Tau Empire units. The Auxiliary Cadre requires your Kroot and Vespids to go in and triangulate positions, essentially. So it's while an enemy is within 9 inches and visible to one of your Kroot, your ranged attacks have better AP. And your Tau guys give your Kroot essentially lone op.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this weird interplay of being like, I need to get my marker light units where I need them, have a crude person nearby so that they can see it, so then my big gun can turn to this thing and be like, I have +1 to shoot, ignores cover, and AP.
There's not a lot of marker light unit options, I see.
So you can. So the marker light units, the marker light keyword just allows you to be the spotter for 2 units instead of 1.
Oh, okay.
It's just all of your Tau Empire units can choose to be an observer or a guided unit.
Man.
But the Tau Empire do not include Kroot and Vespid.
Elitist scum.
Yeah, so there's this like weird triangulation crossplay. So moving into the list, I had to obviously work out what's the right mix of observers, auxiliaries, and firepower, which makes for a very interesting side play. So, for my Kroot and auxiliary units, I chose to go with a unit of Farstalkers, who are kind of like your Kroot rifle people.
Yeah.
Led by a Flesh Shaper.
Okay.
Because it's going to get real confusing. He gives Infiltrator and Scout to the Farstalkers, and also gives them sustained hits 1 if they get into melee, which isn't so big a deal. It also gives Feel No Pain 6. So the idea is that this one guy kind of just makes the Farstalkers a little more tanky, keeps them alive a bit longer, and then they are your like melee / like rifle guys that can just like get in there, infiltrate in, and be set up before your opponent gets there so that they can get in to position they need to be in, right?
This was the Flesh Shaper?
Flesh Shaper with Farstalkers.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the data sheets while you're talking. I was like, which one?
And yeah, right. And then there's 2 units of Vespid Stingwings as your deep strike option that can kind of just show up. That way they can come in exactly where you need them. I tried to use the Kroot to focus on like Infiltrator and Deep Strike so that they're able to get into the positions I need them to be efficiently without getting shot off the board immediately. So then I was like, okay, so who are my observers going to be? So I went with a Breacher team and a Strike team, so Fire Warriors and Breachers, and there is a Fireblade to lead the Breachers. And then on top of that, I also went with some Pathfinders and some Stealth Battlesuits. The Stealth Battlesuits can kind of do either the spotting or do the shooting, depending on where they need to be. And the Pathfinders are just a decent unit to spot things. Drone-wise, the Strike team get a marker drone, which gives them the marker light keyword, meaning they can spot for 2 units. The Pathfinders get a marker drone, which helps them spot for 2 units. So there is this kind of like cross-play of trying to have as few units spotting as possible to give as many people as possible the ability to shoot well.
Very clever.
Yeah. And then I was like, couple of Devilfish as transports, just to try and get the Pathfinders and that into the positions they need to be in safely. Again, trying to focus on getting those spotters and auxiliaries into position safely, because Tau are squishy. They will get blown off the board if anyone gets near them. And then there's the firepower.
I'm waiting for this.
Part of when I was trying to build this list, I was like, where do I start? And I started with Combat Patrol, which gives you 1 Devilfish, it gives you a Commander and Enforcer, and it gives you 2 units for Battle Line. So it covers the basis fairly easily. So there is a Commander in Enforcer Battlesuit who has to have some friends. So I've given him some Crisis Battlesuits to lead. Seems fair. Then I was like, you know what? Let's throw Farsight in there, because he is pretty good. Cool, that rounds out my characters. He needs friends. So I chose 1 unit of Fire Knife Battlesuits and 1 unit of Sunforge Battlesuits. One is a closer range option, the other one is more long range. So the idea is that the commander can sit back while Farsight wants to get in a bit closer to do some damage with his sword. So he has some friends that want to get a bit closer with their sword. trying to pick the right battle suit for the right commander, because there's 3 options depending on how you need them to play. And they're, again, very similar to some other things where it's like a different loadout just means a different ability, Then, obviously, I have mentioned in the past, like, Dawn of War was kind of my big entry point into this hobby. And one of my favorite Tau units was the broadside battlesuit.
Yeah.
So I chucked 4 of them in.
Like 4 times 1.
No. You can't have 4 units. There's 2 1s and a 2.
Ah.
2 of them are built up to be missile strike squads. They are Oops All Missiles, high yield missile pods, missile drones, seeker missiles, twin smart missiles. Like, they're just a missile platform. And that's the squad of 2 just sitting there.
That's a lot of guns.
Then the 2 single ones are heavy rail rifles, which were the whole deal from when I used to play, is you'd have these big rail cannons that would entrench down and just shoot whatever they can get a sight on. And they are my sit in the corner and shoot across the board units. Just 2 big battle suits. Then I was looking at what other battle suits there are out there. And I came across the Ghost Keel. And I was like, wait, why is he even bigger than a broadside?
He's stealthy about
it. He has an impressive bunch of stats, including Infiltrator and Lone Op and Stealth.
Oh, I just saw that.
So I was like, cool, let's give him some melter guns.
And stealth drones.
But let's give him some melter guns and let him just sit in Infiltrator and get in a bit closer and just blow something off the board. And then I was like, so what's bigger than a Ghost Keel? And
a few things.
There were a couple of options here, but we didn't want Titanic keyword.
We don't,
because there's a few things in their detachment rule that say excluding Titanic.
Wow, rude.
So we went with a Riptide battlesuit to round us out for 190 points. This dude has a 4-up invuln save. Did you know that? I love 4-up invuln saves. It just makes you so tanky.
I'm a big fan.
And I gave him a heavy burst cannon and a fusion blaster. So he has a melter gun if you get close, and a 12 attacks, 6 strength cannon. So he's kind of like an all-rounder, could do what needs to be done.
And missile drones.
And missile drones. 'Cause why not?
Why not?
The amount of drones in this list is silly. Like, when I was putting this list visually together in tabletop, I put everyone on as like, okay, who has what drones? Almost doubled the amount of, like, models I had because of drones.
Far out.
Because everyone has, like, 2 drones.
You'd have to, like, paint them different colours to tell them apart, right?
Yeah, that was one thing I was thinking, is I would be like, okay, these ones have red lines because they're a missile drone. These ones have blue lines because they're a scout drone or whatever. Like, try and find as many ways as possible at a glance to decide exactly which one's which. But that's the whole list. It's just like a bunch of vehicles with some big guns and then just a bunch of little dudes running around trying to get into the right position without getting blown off the board.
Seems to work. You got a lot of punch, you got a lot of objectives, you got a lot of that triangulation. Vespids are so underrated.
Vespids seem great.
Yeah.
They were one of the first things I put in the list because I was looking at who the Kroot and Vespid options were, and I was like, why wouldn't you want a bunch of deep strikers that can just jump in and then get out? Because they even have the uppy downy ability.
The uppy downy?
So when they're no longer useful where they are, you can go put them somewhere else.
Yay!
Which makes them very good for, like, relocating to a good area. They also have assault weapons, so they can just get around and shoot shit. They seem fine. At 65 points, I wish I had them in Chaos Space Marines.
You get Beastmen instead.
Which don't have Deep Strike. They just come in at the table edge. And cost more.
I am a little disappointed.
In which part?
Didn't have enough points for the Taona Supremacy Armor.
No. This list came to exactly the amount of points that I needed.
Yay! Let's go.
We got to exactly 2,000 points.
Good job.
My Commander and Enforcer armor does have the Admired Leader ability enhancement, which allows him to give Crude or Vespid within 12 extra leadership and extra OC. So he can help them, like, stay on the point. And then I also gave the Flesh Shaper, the Fanatical Convert enhancement, which allows his unit, the Farstalkers, to have the greater good ability, so they single-handedly can spot and give the AP benefit.
That's good. A good little addition.
Yeah, so it's a neat, fun list that's got some of the units that I love from the past, a bit of nostalgia and fun, and just, like, a bunch of big battle suits, which seems like the most fun way to play Tau anyway.
Hell yeah.
But with a little bit of complexity and, like, positioning, like, you really gotta plan and strategize and hold down those firing lanes and pray your opponent doesn't just charge across the board because they're world eaters, you know?
Cool. Yeah, sure. Tabletop sim, Tau versus GSC.
Oh man, that would be a tactical nightmare.
Oh yes, especially using a mouse to control everything.
No, once you get the hang of tabletop, it's pretty easy to use.
Okay.
You just are new to the PC gaming era, alright?
That's true. Are you a Tau convert now? Are you for the greater good, Johnny? You were eyeing that stuff the other day.
I was definitely looking at it, because they got some cool models, but no.
It's a lot of things to buy.
It's a lot of things to buy.
Surprisingly hoardy.
Yeah, plus I've still got my sights set on my next army, alright? I just need to wait a little longer before I pull the trigger on that one.
Yeah.
Although I was real tempted to use them for Crusade instead of Chaos Knights, but again, the pieces I would need.
I know.
But no, that's my two lists that I built, and I had a lot of fun doing it. They were both very interesting ways of building and different list building challenges, which the Tower one was so much fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I had fun with my GSC, that was for sure.
But we are over an hour in at this point.
No,
Do we
fine.
want to run through the next one, or would you prefer to?
Let's do it. Let's do
Alright.
Legion of Excess, because it really fits with the theme of let's keep going.
Right?
Legion of Excess. Chaos Demons, Johnny. Chaos Demons love to control the battlefield and do leadership tests. If you're a bad person and you fail, you get mortal wounds. If you're a good person and you succeed and you're a battle line, units come back.
Nice.
That's kind of the vibe.
Units coming back is terrifying.
But Slaanesh demons specifically, one of the 4 Legion specific detachments that we got in addition to the Khorne, Zinj, and Nurgle ones. The Slaanesh one, very interesting.
The detachment rules seems really fun.
What it do is, Slaanesh units can fall back and declare a charge, but they can also do a seductive gambit. After they do a charge, you can decide to relinquish your fight first ability and have your opponent's unit fight you first. And then afterwards, you can re-roll hits and wounds.
Seems strong. The only thing you worry about there is the fact that Slaanesh tend to be very glass cannon.
They do. You don't have to do it, though.
You don't have to, which I like, but being able to be like, yeah, you can hit me first, but I'm going to hit you harder if you don't kill me.
But what this list loves is your big ones, what are they called? Keeper of Secrets. You could give them like an enhancement to regain wounds. You can do stratagems such as the Thieves of Pain, where just after an attack or a mortal wound is allocated to a Slaanesh unit, pick someone else nearby and they will take the damage instead. Whack. A lot of the other stratagems basically are better hits, better wounds. Cavalcade of Blades is tank shock, but for infantry units. If you have a big unit, they would really like a stratagem, I think, Overwhelming Excess to do the whole battle shock thing again. So you could maybe get some mortal wounds off if your opponent's already a bit injured. They're -1, maybe -2 to their leadership test. But leadership tests and the whole Shadow of the Warp isn't really what Slaanesh demons want to do. They want to run at you lightning quick, and they want to attack you with mortal wounds. Most of Slaanesh demons have devastating wounds on their melee. It's their whole shtick.
That's terrifying.
Like Demonettes, battle line unit, devastating wounds. Characters, devastating wounds.
Wait, their battle line has devastating wounds?
Yep, Demonettes. They are
Holy
9-inch
dooly.
movement. They can re-roll a hit roll of 1 if within range of an objective marker, re-roll the whole hit roll. They also have the Daemonic Invulnerable save. They got the Seductive Gambit for the fight first. The Instruments of Chaos add 1 to charge rolls. If they have the Demonic Icon, like the banner, they actually are a Leadership 6 unit. So if you babysit them around like Keepers of Secrets, getting the whole Shadow and the Warp thing, no, that's Tyranids. You get me, though, the whole Warp poisoning battlefield shtick. Demonettes will be okay. They'll be charging into units that are a little hurt. They'll get all their rerolls if it's an objective. And then if you partner them up with some abilities from characters such as Slaanesh, an epic hero, they actually dev wound on 5s.
I know how much you love that model, so glad you could include it.
Yeah, so what is my actual list? We have a couple of epic heroes. Slaanesh, he's going to lead a squad of Demonettes. They are the sort of the vanguard unit, the front line. Slaanesh is a melee powerhouse on their own, but crits on 5s on wounds. That's a lot of devastating wounds considering that Demonettes have 3 attacks each, strength
and there's
4.
10 of them.
Yeah, and strength 4. So,
well, the strength 4 doesn't matter so much when you crit your devastating wounds on 5s.
But if you don't hit your dev wounds, good chance you're still actually inflicting a wound.
Yeah.
What else do I have? I have the Contorted Epitome. That's the one where the 2 of the Demonettes are in front of that weird mirror.
Oh, yeah, yep. Sick model.
What does that do? Feel no pain 4-up against mortal wounds and psychic attacks. What's that psychic ability in addition to swallowing energy, feel no pain, perk? Horrible Fascination. What does that do? You can choose a unit within 12 you roll a d6 and then on a 1, the Contorted Epitome takes damage. On a 2 to 5, the enemy unit takes mortal wounds. On a 6, they are not eligible to shoot in the whole phase.
Nice.
The target. What do you do with Contorted Epitome? Lead the Demonettes.
With some Demonettes.
Lead the Demonettes. Keep them in the midfield. Use them as a Thieves of Pain battery. Oh, you're trying to dev wound my Keeper of Secrets? Ah, well. Contorted Epitome will take the damage instead. Thieves of Pain stratagem.
Nice.
What else do I have? Keeper of Secrets.
How many Keeper of Secrets?
1 that's not named.
Ah.
And 1 that is.
Yep. Shalaxi Hellbane.
Keeper of Secrets. Yeah. Keeper of Secrets, just the normal one. Soul Glutton Enhancement brings the list up to a nice 2,000 points. Whoop whoop.
Nice.
It allows them to generate up to D3 lost wounds if they killed model. Instead of giving them some extra attacks, I gave them the Shining Aegis war gear, which gives them a Feel No Pain 5.
Ooh, that's very nice.
They have the Demon Lord of Slaanesh aura, so Demonica units within 6 have improved AP on the melee weapons by 1, so Demonettes are suddenly doing AP 2 melee attacks.
Nice.
And when they are within 6 inches of the Greater Demon, they are within the Shadow of Chaos, so if they are below their strength and need to do a battle shock test, if they pass, they can get models back, because that's how the warp works. But if you attack a Keeper of Secrets, they're so beautiful, Johnny, that you actually are -1 to hit because you're actually quite distracted.
So you're telling me that's -1 to hit.
Yep.
Then they have a 4-up invuln save.
And a 5-up feel
and
no
a
pain.
5-up feel no pain.
And they can palm off their wounds to other things.
Oh my god. And they have 10 toughness? The thing's so... And how many wounds?
18.
Holy dooly. That's
And
so hard to take down.
They can do the Seductive Gambit. So they can fish for their devastating wounds, snapping claws, which is extra attacks to their Wit Stealer sword. So if you were to hit all of your attacks, that's like 10 attacks doing 3 damage each.
That's spice.
But that's not the only Keeper of Secrets. I am bringing the epic Shalaxi Hellbane. I'm a big fan of epics. What does Shalaxi do that a Keeper of Secrets don't? Well, they have the Cloak of Constriction. So you select an enemy unit with an engagement range at the start of the fight phase. -1 to all the attack characteristics of melee weapons equipped by the unit.
Okay, so instead of -1 to hit, it's -1 to attacks.
Correct, but Shalaxi is also the Monarch of the Hunt, Johnny. Each time this model declares a charge targeting a monster, vehicle, or character, you can reroll the charge. Each time the model makes a melee attack targeting those keywords, you can reroll the hit roll, the wound roll, and the damage roll.
Holy dooly.
Her spear, the Soul Piercer, is a 6 attack, hits on 2s, strength 14, AP 3, damage D6 plus 2, precision. Everything exists in this list for Shalaxi to go peekaboo, stab. But I don't just have those things.
That terrifies me. And still has a Feel No Pain 5 as well.
Yeah. I have a couple of chariots. I have Torment Bringer on Exalted Seeker. This is the named version of the 4-in-1 kit. What does Torment Bringer do? Well, Torment Bringer has an aura. While a Daemonic unit within 6 inches of this model, well, while they're standing there, melee weapons have sustain hits 1.
Oh, this is disgusting.
And Torment Bringer has Hysterical Frenzy for a psychic ability once per fight phase after a Daemonic unit selects their target. When they are selected, by an enemy unit, the Torment Bringer can basically say each time that unit is destroyed, or each time a model in that unit is destroyed, they can potentially
fight on death.
And this isn't to ignore the fact that it does have 23 attacks in melee.
Yep, sure does.
It's 140 points, and its main melee weapon is 15 attacks, devastating wounds.
Math checks out.
It's not the only chariot I have. I have Hellflayer as well. Hellflayer also has a ridiculous amount of attacks that are all like extra attacks, dev wounds. But Hellflayer's ability is cutting down the foe. Select a unit within engagement range, roll a d6, add 2 of its infantry. On a 2 to 3, they suffer d3 mortals. On a 4 to 5, they suffer 3 mortal wounds. On a 6, d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. So you charge it in to melee. If you have a CP, why not go for a little bit of a tank shock if you feel up to it? But you're better off using it for the Cavalcade of Blades on your Demonettes to do tank shock with them, because it's actually better than tank shock. Anyway, you charge in, 50-50 chance to do D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. Maybe the Hellflayer does a Seductive Gambit. Then it just finishes off the unit with like 20 attacks.
And if it doesn't, the next turn it falls back and charges back in and does it again.
Yep.
Woo!
I'm almost done with my list.
Yep.
I'm almost done. I'm just waiting for New Recruit to work again. Hold on. We're getting there. It's coming back to me. There we go. I needed a bit of ranged threat, so there is a Slaanesh Soul Grinder in this list.
That was going to be my question, is what do you do?
Don't worry about it. It's not what the army's built for. But there is a Soul Grinder in here. I did start my list off with 2, but then I decided Shalaxi was pretty spicy. Slaanesh Soul Grinder can walk over not vehicles. It can move over... No, it can. It can move over friendly monsters, vehicles, and terrain features that are 4 inches or less as if they were not there. This thing scuttles. This thing also has strength 10 harvester cannons. It's got a Scream of Despair because it's Slaaneshi, so it's got another dev wound ranged profile. It's got a melee weapon that has strength 16, AP 3, D6 plus 2 damage, so it's still doing fine in melee. But the last thing I have is a couple of 6 model-sized units of Fiends. I wasn't too into the idea of Fiends until I saw that each of them are T5, 4 wounds, 5 up invulnerable. They have the aura Superferic Musk. While a enemy unit is within 6 inches, each time they make a melee attack, -1 to hit. -1 on desperate escapes. Each fiend has 5 attacks, strength 5, AP 2, damage 2, dev wounds. And they're like 210 points. This is your Terminator brick. And I have 2 of those.
It sure is.
2 of those. So a couple of keepers, couple of characters, couple of chariots, couple of demonette battle lines, a soul grinder, couple of big blobs of fiends. That's the list.
This list sounds like a lot of fun and is absolutely terrifying in the fight phase.
Oh yeah, I love it. I had a lot of fun putting that together.
I see why it's performing well, because this seems very good.
The stratagems are also very good.
Yeah, like, having dev wounds on everything just kind of makes you push through damage when you shouldn't.
There's just so much utility in their kit too. One of the
Yeah.
stratagems is Phantasmal Longing in the movement or the charge phase. Pick a unit, they can go through terrain.
Nice.
Keeper of Secrets, Shalaxi, big building. Fiends, they might be mounted, I'm not too sure. But chariots are, just go through it. Don't need to go around.
It's one thing I've noticed a lot, like, what stratagems your detachment has is so important to how well you can play the game. Like, having a lot of nice utility in your stratagems feels really good. Some detachments just do not work because their stratagems don't do enough work.
Oh yeah.
I even feel it in Iconoclast Fiefdom. Like, quite often I end up just using my CP to do rerolls and stuff like that because their stratagems are so specifically coded. But having, like, all of this utility in your stratagems is so nice.
Pretty good.
No, I like the look of this detachment. It looks very good.
But that's all about detachments now, isn't it?
That's it. And it was a good bit of fun building up some lists for armies we don't normally play. You received 2 of the armies that you were already kind of planning on looking at list building for, which is good.
It was fun.
And there's 30 of them. We've done 5, so there's plenty more that we could do this again.
Well, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because after doing this, I also had a lot of fun. And what did I do? I compiled a numerical list of all the detachments in the whole game. So I have a list of 119 detachments, right up into the brand new Eldari Codex. We got the Grotmas, we got all the index stuff. If we wanted to do this challenge again,
We could go big.
We could go big. Roll a D119.
Oh, give me a second.
Oh, you want to do it right now?
Why not?
Why not? Let's see what we got. Let's keep the audience.
Roll a D119. 1 dice with 119 sides.
Are you kidding me? I rolled a 1.
Seriously? I rolled 51.
Shall we see what you get? Oh,
Yeah, why not? And then the audience have something to think about.
All right, I think we should come up with 3 again. This could be quite fun. So you got 51.
51.
Now I went in release order. So indexes.
That's fine. Whatever
indexes,
the order is that you've got.
Yeah, just to let the audience sort of figure this out. Index, then codices as they're released, then Grotmas, and now the new couple of codices after that. 51 puts us squarely in Custodian territory.
Hey.
With the Null Maiden Vigil, them Sisters of Silence. Oh. Oh no.
That's gonna be a hard one to build around.
Null Maiden Vigil. I got the the Black Templars, Righteous Crusaders.
Nice.
Nice. Do it again.
43.
43. We got you in Orc territory now.
Orcs.
With the War
Right.
Horde.
Oh, yep. That's a list.
Oh my lord. I don't know if I should roll again, but I got
What'd you get?
GSC, Biosanctic Brood Surge. So all the abominations and Genestealer stuff.
Well, go on then. That's what you got, right?
I'm down for it. All right.
And my third one is 75.
How much do you like Blood Angel?
It's It's not happening, Josh. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I got a 12. That's what I said, right? I got a 12.
All right, let's see.
No, don't be Space Marines again.
How about Leagues of Votan Index Detachment?
Oh, I guess I can work with that. It's not like I have to learn much for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. I got, for my third one, I got the Alpha Legion, the Deceptors Detachment.
That's actually it's a fun one to build around because they've got a bit of a gimmick.
All right, so I got Black Templar, GSC, Mutants, and Alpha Legion. You have Sisters of Silence, Warhorde of Orcs, and
Votan.
Blood Angel Dwarves.
Don't.
It was going to be the Death Company, if that changes your mind.
Oh.
Nope, okay. Well,
no, we're in League of. I don't. No, I'm not. I don't want to have to list build for Space Marines. It's too much effort. I don't know how Space Marine players list build. There's too many things.
They pick the models that look cool and then realize they got an army. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, Johnny, what a pleasure this episode has been.
It sure has. List building is always fun.
A lot of fun. This may potentially be our longest episode yet.
That's because of your excess.
What can I say? I'm a bit Slaanesh pilled, but we should wrap it up there.
For sure. It has been fun.
It has been fun. Next time, we're going to turn our brains off and say, that model good, that model not so good. I bought that model. I will never buy that model. And that's going to be that episode. But this episode was a lot of fun.
Go through last year and see what they released and see how we felt about it.
Mm-hmm. All right. May your hobbies be good hobbies.
Try and get some paint on some models this week, guys.
I feel called out.
Oh, mate, I haven't done it in a while either, and I got a big weekend coming up next weekend.
Yes, you do. All right. Paint you later. Goodbye, boys and
See yous.
girls and they thems.
Good luck. Have fun.
Goodbye.